All right. Hello and welcome to Twin Killing, the podcast where two twins talk about stuff. I'm Jason Luna. This is my co-host and twin brother, Marcus Luna. How you doing today, Marcus?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing good. Trying to keep busy. Uh,
Yep.
yeah, I'm trying to. There's no particular anecdotes I want to share right now. So, uh, for the sake of this podcast, I saw a movie. It feels like several weeks ago that I finally got you to watch.
Yep.
It's called Sex and the Other Man.
Yep.
So probably should have I should have the IMDb page ready to go because the creative team behind the movie is the most obscure part of this movie by far.
Well, it gets pretty obscure on Wikipedia too, but yeah, I guess.
I mean because the actors I know, one I only know by face, but uh so let's see. Directed by Carl Sloven.
Yep.
You probably looked this up already. Uh, wow, his known for this is by far his most famous movie. There's a short
Yeah,
film here and a location management job as one of them.
he's a non-linker on Wikipedia.
Wow, he directed On Edge. That's a feature. Let's see what that's about. On Edge. I'm on Edge. Looks like a rom-com. Uh,
Oh, it's that fat girl who's been in Broadway shows.
yeah, she was in Hairspray, I think.
Yeah,
Her name's
looks like Jason Alexander's in it too.
Ty Babylonia, which is a wonderful name. It's an ice skating, heartwarming ice skating drama about a big girl who can ice skate. Good for her, yeah. Uh, yeah, he's a location manager for the refrigerator. Terrible job and terrible movie title. Wow. If I guess your movie's called The Refrigerator, it might as well be a horror movie where the monster is the refrigerator.
Does it move?
Uh, it looks like one of the because in kind of in line with this movie, Sex the Other Man. It looks like it's kind of psychological because it exerts psychological control over the husband and it sends people to hell. So it seems like it's a little more going on with the refrigerator than just slashering. So that's the director. He gets a co-writing. I guess actually no, he gets the basically the sole writing credit because it's an adaptation of a play by Paul Weitz.
Yep. Who's
But he's
much more famous than he is.
yeah, although
Not
his
for
credit,
not for playwriting either.
I mean, his big credit is he screen wrote About a Boy. I don't recognize any of his producer credits.
He directed American Pie.
Apparently, IMDb is trying to give a brother a help in prestige because that is not in his known for category. Director, let's see, previous director. Oh, he gets
He
credit.
co-directed with Chris Weitz, his brother.
Oh, he gets credit for directing Little Fockers,
Yep.
the outtakes of American Pie. IMDb is yeah thorough, I guess. Get a big hand in Mozart in the Jungle, which sounds like a very prestigious show. I guess it got pretty good reviews. I never heard any. I don't know anything about it. But yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, that's the production, but you know what we're here for. I was gonna say hardcore nudity, but that's probably too strong for this podcast.
A little bit of it, yeah.
Yeah, like yeah, it's definitely the most. I don't. It probably is the most exciting and interesting part of the movie. But I guess since we're already getting into it, uh, let's get into the plot. This movie's very memorable in part because it was so boring that you could remember the scenes because there's not that many of them.
Well, it's it being based on a play was so obvious as soon as I saw that in the credits. Like, I didn't do much research before because why do research before a movie? Because it kind of ruins.
Yeah, I mean,
Well,
I guess we should briefly get into this. I don't know how many play movies you've seen. Usually, I like play movies a lot because it's
we saw with our parents, we saw August Osage County.
Okay,
Um,
but I did like a movie you didn't see, Glengarry Glen Ross. It's one of the greatest play movies ever.
yeah,
Really sets the genre on the right. It's a good template for the genre. How to adapt a play.
you didn't watch One Night in Miami with me, did you?
No, I mean go classical. Like I never saw. I don't think I actually saw Raisin in the Sun. I think I read that play not even for school. I just read it for fun.
We watched the movie in English class, the in high school, the Poitier one. It's good.
Yeah, I'm trying to think.
It's a solid play too. It's
Yeah, and it's a good transition into the movie. I'm trying to remember if I saw any Tennessee Williams. Oh yeah, of course I saw Streetcar.
yeah, I did too.
Yeah, but Tennessee Williams is an excellent segue into Paul Weitz's play because I feel like he wants to be Tennessee Williams, but he's not quite as smart based on the way this movie came out. Would you agree with that?
What's the question? Sorry.
Tennessee Williams writes a lot of plays about sexual frustration. It's basically the entire plot summary of Cat on a Hot Tin Roof. And I was saying
Yeah.
that this movie reminds me a lot of Tennessee Williams because it's like a lot of like sexual frustration, smoldering desire. It's just not as good as a Tennessee Williams play. Is that fair?
Is it fair that this is not as good as Tennessee Williams? Yeah, I think that's fair.
All right. Uh, Without further ado, let's get into the plot. You remember what happened in the first scene of the movie? Because it was very odd.
Yeah, I the role playing.
You don't know.
He's in a
You don't
he's
know
in
the
a
role play. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
he's role playing and they're role playing. He's in a robe. I can't remember what she was wearing,
I think it was something similar. I think they're both going to bed.
but they were pretending that they're at work.
Yeah. I think they did that. I think they did that thing that movies do sometimes, where it was like dark or like opening credits or something, and you didn't know that they were in the bedroom.
He's wearing a robe. So how many places can you be with a robe?
I just remember an opening shot where it was dark at first, and you hear the dialogue.
No, because it was. I don't know why Carl Sloven chose to do this, but the credits were like uh New York at night with one of the like title cards for the credits for New York at night, like a subway train, people walking outside, and then they put the title cards up and then cut back to their role play office scene garbage uh in between.
Garbage. Well, I never. No.
That's and it was very dark with the keep saying title cards. Is that what you call that? Directed by, cinematography by, costumes by when
Yeah, I'd buy it. I think they call them opening credits, technically.
yeah, opening credit fine, that's better term. Opening credits with scenes from New York and it was very dark.
Yeah. Yeah. The whole movie's got a certain. I was gonna say dark tinge to it, but that's probably just my mental inflection onto the film.
Wikipedia says it's a comedy drama. That's a stretch. Nothing was funny in this stupid movie.
It was certainly well, it was kind of comedic in the sense of like in a Shakespearean way to give this movie more
Oh my
credit.
God, comparing it to Shakespeare.
Shakespeare, Tennessee Williams, I got all the bad comparisons. No, I just mean by basic rule, a Shakespearean comedy is often not very funny. It's just got a lot of like ebullience of energy, and it doesn't dwell on the negative topically.
I don't know, I guess, but Shakespeare didn't feel as random as because whatever. Nothing ends up really happening in this movie, anyways. Spoiler, so don't even watch this movie.
No, not recommended. No, but
But
yeah,
I'll just give an example of the quote unquote attempts at comedy in the movie. So the movie basically there's little interludes at Curry Wurr's I'll call her by character name, Jessica's office,
I'm gonna call her Carrie Wurr, but you keep going.
or her boss Arthur, played by Stanley Tucci.
Yes.
There's, but the two main settings are their apartment, and then they're forced to they move because they shoot a loud blank at Stanley Tucci.
All right, all right, all right. Let's.
But let me get to the comedy. Let me get my get my
Hey,
comedy. Sorry for the long intro to get there, but
I know. Get back to we gotta get back to the plot in order. But go
it
ahead.
wasn't funny though. But the attempt at comedy was they're driving to a uh
Motel.
yeah, it had a specific name, but whatever. And then while they're driving, Stanley Tucci's uh tied up in the back seat,
Yeah.
and he's saying, "Are we there yet? Are we there yet?" Imitating a little kid, an annoying
Well,
Ron Eldard's character Bill, who I kept thinking it was like a Dennis Quaid's brother who can't act. Like the whole time I was watching it, just reminded me of Dennis looked like Dennis Quaid. Not Dennis Quaid, Dennis Leary.
I can see that. So yeah, I think, and once we get back to the plot, because we're skipping a few steps, but they were trying to set up, and they did. Well, they're trying to set something that happened. It's not really set up; it just happened. But they're trying to keep layering on that. Technically, he's being held hostage, but
Yes,
clearly, part of him wants to be there out of his love for Carrie Werner, which makes no sense
it
because
wasn't built up well at all.
yeah, because I mean, it was a basic. There were so many dumb questions that came up during that movie. Because like,
Maybe should we explain?
let's go back to the plot, and then we can point out some things that go along. So they have this thing that goes nowhere because this happened a lot with what's his name, Gary Elgard. What's his name?
Ron Eldard's the actor. He played Bill
I mean, I know this.
or
I know in Hollywood nowadays you keep your real
or
name.
Billy because Jessica calls him Billy half the time.
What's his real name? What's his character name?
Bill Jameson apparently. Uh,
So yeah, the. By the way, that actor's in something, right? Some sitcom or something.
uh, I looked at his acting credits on Wikipedia. Nothing in that famous. It's been I saw it when we saw it when it came out, and I haven't revisited it. He apparently played uh a drunken father in Super 8. That's a const that like frustrates Kyle Chandler somehow in that movie.
Oh, I know what he's from. He's the guy who goes blind for no reason in Deep Impact.
Oh, well, I better remember. I saw he was in Deep Impact. I did not remember that because I'm talking about a movie I watched when it came out and then didn't revisit.
No, it was pretty bad at the time, and it's probably only worse now. So I want to make one point about Ron Eldard's acting, and this happens a lot in the movie, and it happened in the first scene. Is that he tells Carrie Werner he can't get a boner despite the role play, but the way he plays it, he's so loose in his performance. It kind of comes off like, "Oh, I could get a boner, but I don't really want to." Goofy. Did you get that at all?
I don't remember dialogue. Yeah, yes, obviously that's the whole gist of the movie is that they weren't planning on kidnapping Stanley Tucci, but
Okay.
which
Okay. Yeah.
plot makes no sense because
Well.
the
Yeah.
can I explain why it makes no sense?
Yes. Just I want to explain the thing that actually happened in the movie in the next scene. But go ahead.
Because throughout the rest of the movie, it's about I feel like it's more believable that Kari's in love with Bill, but then why does she randomly take her boss home to sleep with him?
Okay. So let's get into it, and let's let the audience decide. So that boner thing happens, and the movie like practically moves on. We go to a new setting, which is a very generic office where Carrie Werner talks to. I don't know if you remember. She's talking to some other person in the office we never see, while Stanley the Tooch, if you will, Stanley Tucci's watching, and they have like a generic flirt at work. Do you remember what they're? I don't know. I don't even know what they were talking about. It's like it seems friendly at first and very generic.
Oh, I remember the setup. He does kind of trick her, um, because it's exposition, uh, but because they barely spent any time in the office, you can't see how good she is at her job, which I can't really get that mad about because it would have been boring if they built how good they were at their generic office jobs or whatever.
Well,
But
generically, she makes enough money to pay for an apartment by herself, and he is an executive, so they both seem to be doing
well, anyways, the
loosely well.
he they go out because he says, "I can give you. You're gonna go. I can. You can go place in this company. I'll give you some pointers or something like that."
Yeah. So
So it started out with work friends going out to talk about a promotion, and then it escalated from there.
he goes to her apartment, which is already weird. Like I feel like if you're gonna have an affair, why not? Why not have her at
Well, I do explain that later in the movie.
All right. So yeah, they go to the apartment, and it seems like a work thing, and then for a little bit it seems like Kari Ward doesn't want to sleep with him, but then they start making out, and taking clothes off and stuff, and then Ron, Ron Santo, Ron Elgard, whatever his name is,
Just call him Bill. Who cares about the actor name?
Bill Elgard shows up with a
Oh my God, Bill's not Eldart's his actor name. Just Bill's the character name.
yeah, roll with the punches, Marcus. I've run out of time with my name. What I got some guy never gonna some guy I don't know his name. Okay, so Bill comes home and he takes Polaroids of them having sex. This is another weird part for me because when you see that, obviously your brain goes, "Oh, he's setting up the divorce," and then it must at some point it transitions into the Tooch being handcuffed to the thing.
Would have helped if you watched the movie more as recently as I did. So what he does is
That's some fun, Marcus. Okay.
he he takes the Polaroids but he also turns around and turns all the locks. And it was weird because it wasn't because I mean most door locks when you're inside and you lock it from the inside, who's ever in the room with you can also unlock it from the inside.
They
And I
did,
think this might because we're forgetting that he didn't this might have been a plot all along to bring him in because he shows up to their job and he just talks to uh
Stanley Tucci.
yeah, he avoids the three of them talking, so he doesn't know. So Tucci, because I'll just say I'll call him Tucci and I'll call him Bill. So Tucci doesn't see the three of them talking to know that they're in a relationship.
Yeah, I mean it's began the movie's very long, prolonged thing of Bill bullying the Tooch in a
Yeah. So, anyways,
passive aggressive bullying way. Yeah, yeah.
what happens is he has some sort of special lock he sets that Tucci can't just unlock with his hands.
Yes.
So Tucci runs to the window, doesn't try to open the window, just yells, which at least try to open the window because obviously yelling's less effective with a closed window.
To be fair, the yelling marginally worked. Non actor who wasn't in the movie voiceover guy was like, "Hey,
Oh
what's
yeah, that
going on
was
there?"
awkward.
Yeah.
Can you keep it down? You woke my kids up. Yeah,
And then they put the. I think they became another prolonged thing in the movie, which made me very uncomfortable. Was not only gagging Stanley Tucci, but Stanley Tucci pointing out how gagging would make him uncomfortable, and then it happening. You just have to sit there and watch it.
Yeah.
I feel like there's a lot of things in this movie that happen that are like a little annoying, and it's like it's all we got.
I'm not sure how could it work better, but that's kind of what plays do is you're in one scene, so you focus on details like that because
No. Well, okay.
play that's why a lot of the I don't know, plays kind of made for that and movies based on plays are focused on details
Okay. Yeah.
like that and stuff. So
Yeah. This
it's a
raises
weird though.
an important issue we can sidebar on for a second here. You're saying, these are things you focus on in a play. This is like a play. What does a good play have that a bad play doesn't? Look at the camera. All right. Uh, Good actors. Carrie Wurr is a terrible actress. I think enough time has passed. I can say this without fear of retribution. She's never been good in anything I've seen her in. I've seen her in many projects over my life.
Yeah.
Sliders, she was terrible. That movie where she lip synced or whatever on VH1, she was terrible. She cannot say authentic dialogue long enough for me to care.
No, she's a classic B movie actress. She was terrible. Oh, everyone was terrible. Eight Legged Freaks. Might be one of my least favorite movies ever. It actually is one of my least favorite. I decided it's my least favorite. But anyways,
So
yeah,
yeah, one of the big tentpole problems of this movie is that Stanley Tucci is being physically and verbally abused by this couple, and as the movie goes on, he's giving more and more extended ways to escape. And he turns and he's like, "I'm so in love with Carrie Wurr, I can't possibly leave." And the movie
yeah,
justifies that based on their connection or performances or performance. And and as much as I want to rag on Carrie Wurr, it's kind of Tucci's fault too. Don't you agree? That I don't know if it was the screenplay, but it probably was. Almost certainly was. He didn't have enough dialogue either to really convince me he was like a three-dimensional character. But my thoughts.
yeah.
So the movie gets when I say the movie gets a little prolonged at this point, it's mostly because there's like two sex scenes in this part. To And by the way, what do you think of on a psychological, physiological thing, the idea that having her boss handcuffed by the bed is a solution to erectile dysfunction to allow them to have passionate sex? What do you think of the movie logic of that?
I don't know. Like, not
Seems
to get in the types of pornography discussion, but I guess I'm going there. I don't know. People have kinks that get them more aroused than normal people would. I don't know.
that's just interesting to get in this kink thing because it seems to shift kinks. Like the first kink is that she's cheating on her boyfriend, husband, whatever, and oh, that's naughty. And then it turns into like this, what was it, voyeurism? Audience? It's not really voyeurism because voyeurism's like to get more into pornography. The voyeurism's like, oh, you can't see me, but I'm watching you. It's all secretive. This is just Statler and Waldorf bound and gagged at the bed. It's weird. There's no
Tyler Waldorf.
this.
That's disturbing. Okay.
I mean, I'm a Christian. I've never watched pornography in my life, but
Why'd you bring,
there's no.
Christians bring up the Muppets being bound watching sex?
My point is, what's the sexual kink for someone watching? And there's no like connection there. It's not like Stanley Tucci's allured to the sex. It's just he's just sitting there. That doesn't seem like a sexual thing to me.
I don't know. There's probably some people get turned on by that. I don't know, but
I guess it was supposed to be this movie thematically. I feel like it makes me do more work than the movie did because I started thinking like, oh, maybe it's about how the business elite uh, don't care, and their subjugation, chaining your boss, lets the proletariat have sex. That movie, that's not really in the movie, is it?
I don't know. I think you're giving what's his name? I lost the Wikipedia page.
American Pie outtakes too much credit. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, Sloven.
Sullivan directed it and wrote and directed it, but he based it off of
Paul Weitz.
yeah.
Yeah, so the sex happens, and there's a lot of interlude type scenes. I guess there's just one, because he goes to get food, which I guess makes sense in a play. Plot wise, that's terrible. Like,
There's multiple, but yeah.
it's like we don't even know they eat food. I got that. But and he talks to Carrie Werner, and he's just kind of like, "Can I leave?" And she's like, "No." And then another weird thing, he brings back this ugly Chinese food.
Yeah, it wasn't good Chinese food.
He tries to convince the Tooch to eat it, and the Tooch won't eat it. And that's about it.
Uh yes. It's a terrible movie when the things jump around. Not that I like movies where people torture people, but I felt like that scene with the Chinese food was showing that Bill, I remember Tucci's character name, it's Arthur. Bill's torturing Arthur, or making him try to eat something he doesn't want to eat. Um, and feeding him like they're best friends, even though he's got him tied up and whatnot.
Yeah.
It was supposed to be unpleasant on purpose type of thing. They didn't really stick with that. They kind of jumped all over the place.
Well, yeah, because I'm sure more happened, but the decision to leave the apartment was really abrupt. Uh, so Tooch, he like escaped or something?
He didn't escape.
Because he got the gun, didn't he?
No. Well, eventually got the gun, but jumping ahead.
No, I mean in the apartment there was something with the
He
gun, obviously, because the gun went off at the end of the first act or whatever.
never got the gun in the apartment.
Someone fired the gun then
Kari Werner did.
because he was about to leave the apartment. Tucci was.
I gotta should watch movies when I watch them so we can have equal.
Oh, just tell me instead of complaining about telling me.
It's hard to talk when you're talking. Then I'll do it. So he waits till they fall asleep, and he tries to be very sneaky and take the key out of Bill's jeans that are on the floor because he's naked because they were having sex. He's about to grab the key, and Kari Werner pulls a gun on him from under the blanket, and he's like, "You're not." And Tucci's like, "You don't have to shoot me." And then he basically just keeps going for the door, like, "You're not going to shoot me. You're not going to shoot me." And then she does. And there's another thing that makes no sense, like most of this whole stupid movie. So she shoots and he falls
What do you
and
think?
doesn't move. So I'm thinking he's dead or something. Or and then Bill gets up from bed. He's like, "No, he's shot." And then she's like, "I didn't want to kill him." It's like, "You didn't kill him. They're blanks." Then why did Stanley Tucci pass out? Was it just shock of a gunshot going off?
Plausible. He heard a realistic gunshot noise, and so did VO neighbor number one again. My kids are
He
trying.
didn't say anything the second time. The neighbor didn't say anything.
Oh, so
Here's a lot of, yeah.
L. Ron Hubbard just said, "We gotta get out of here," whatever, and that's it.
You're changing his name on purpose.
Listen, I'm a comedian. This is the craft that we weave.
It's just Bill. You're
Bill,
so-
Bill Ron says,
yes, Bill's the one who says, without any neighbor interference, says, "That was loud. We better leave."
cuts to that was the first time I was excited in the movie. I'm like, oh, something's happening. because they're in the car now. Well, my disappointment would only ensue. But Stanley Tucci acts like he's in love with. Well, I guess he just the rest of the movie basically is in love with this whole Bonnie and Clyde thing or whatever. But yeah, they're drinking open container in the car with no care about being arrested.
Yeah.
And they go to the motel, and the movie kind of recreates itself. Would you agree with that? Would you say, or do you think there's big changes in the motel room?
I think it's very similar.
I guess the big change is the touch bag, as I'll call it from now on. I'm just kidding. But
Jeez. What did you do?
no, a douchebag is bad, but a touch bag is full of Stanley Tucci, so it's a good thing. Anyway, Stanley Tucci, like he gets really confident and like assertive, especially towards Carrie Werner. What's her name again?
She's Jessica.
Jessica. And I don't. Seemed really weird to me that I don't know. I feel like he almost knew what was going to happen because Carrie Werner asked him to go get apple pie, and he just leaves them alone. Like he must have known that there was something going on with them, or at least in Tucci's mind.
I don't know. She said she was didn't feel well, and she apple pie make her better. So, and he might have felt bad or something for berating Stanley Tucci bad or something. So I think he wanted to leave. It's tough to say who knows what about feelings and stuff.
Yeah, I mean the movie plays it off like he didn't know, and in fact he was right to trust her because spoiler alert, we're pretty close to the end of the movie anyway, but she agrees to not go out with or escape with Stanley Tucci or however you want to phrase it. So I guess Bill had nothing to worry about. Thanks, movie. Yeah,
Well, he does get shot, but he gets it's a very small flesh wound. It was not a big budget movie, so
yeah. They have sex again in the motel. Uh,
do they?
I think yeah. I mean, well, maybe not. They get into bed naked, but it might have been sleeping.
It wasn't the softcore type Skinemax type sex that they had in the apartment in the
No,
motel.
as much intentionality as there is in this movie, I think it was kind of hinting that her and Bill were kind of fading, although the movie didn't really pay that off. So
No, that was the attempt by the movie to kind of what's going to happen because by this point, Tucci's explained multiple times how alone he is. Give Slovin a little bit of credit because he does sprinkle in additional details when they get into that exposition about Tucci's personal life. That at first I think it's just trouble, but then he admits that he hasn't lived with her for 8 months. Um, so she feels bad. Um,
yeah, so we missed something in the movie that was really dumb, but it's like technically the crux of the whole film. What about Bill's boat?
uh,
The crowd goes wild.
oh yeah, it was a stupid
So,
business
so
idea. I'm
Bill,
gonna I'm gonna buy a boat and I'm gonna rent it out to rich idiots like you or whatever word he uses. I can't
yeah,
remember.
yeah, he demands slash asks or whatever a giant loan from Stanley Tucci.
Well, he initially wanted 300 grand, and he actually it was surprising. I guess that's how he did it in 1995 or whenever this movie came out. He says, I don't have $300,000. And he says, You're a big executive. Of course you do. So he actually calls his bank and confirms the amount as $75,000. I'm surprised in the movie they kind of skirted on details. They actually went through the had a part of the movie where Bill calls the phone, calls the bank, and confirms the number.
Yeah. Quick sidebar. I think it's pretty irresponsible for a guy who can't find a job, and his only job option is to buy a boat and go in the ocean with it. I mean, there's got to be better jobs in the middle somewhere.
I don't think the movie's trying to claim Bill's that smart.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of Ron L. Dard's acting style. Very goofy. I don't know if he was told to do that or, but yeah.
Well, I gave Silva a little bit of credit for writing before, but it's overwhelmed by, and maybe he was never seen the play. There's no Wikipedia page for the play, so probably can't even watch. That was 30 plus years ago, so you probably can't watch a stage version if you wanted to, or you might be able to find, if I looked for it, maybe find a paperback or something. But anyways, did you catch during the movie that there was repeating dialogue?
As in over the course of the movie it repeated, or was it like directly looping?
I mean, no, it wasn't. Like, what do you mean by looping?
Like
Like
like saying the same line, like doubling. That happens in movies sometimes.
no, not in the same. Not like my name is Marcus. My name is Marcus. Not like that. Bill would be romancing Jessica,
Uh-huh.
and he said in one romantic encounter with her, he says, you are looking particularly voluptuous tonight." And then a later romantic encounter, he says, "You are looking particularly voluptuous tonight." I think even a third time, "You are looking particularly voluptuous tonight."
So I definitely noted that line when it happened. It was clunky the first time. That probably mitigated some of my reaction when it repeated because it's such a stupid line. It's like you look like you have big boobs now. That's what it reads to me as. I don't
Hey,
know.
there's
Yeah,
a lot of things wrong about that movie. Carrie is not a good actress, but she has voluptuous qualities.
I mean that's the highlight of the movie. It's like maybe 30 seconds long, probably less, but
Yeah.
that literally gets the butts in seats. But yes. Uh,
Speaking of which, do you think this movie was released in theaters? Because it kind of had a HBO movie of the week feel to it.
so a lot of HBO movies were also released in theaters and look like that. So long answer, I have no idea. I imagine, based on a play, that it must have gotten some kind of prestige run in small art house theaters. But are you looking it up?
Trying Box Office Mojo. If it doesn't have it, I'm not going to dig any further. But to see if they have box office receipts, I don't know if they go back that far.
It wasn't so TV movie it hurt or anything. It was shot fine, not artistic, cinematography of the year, but it was a movie.
There's a Lauren Bacall movie from 1964, which would have been a lot better, called Sex and a Single Girl, and they have a search result for that for its budget and not stuff for its gross and stuff, but they don't have this movie on Box Office Mojo.
Hmm.
Wikipedia page is all the sections combined is 2 paragraphs or something. It's didn't make a dent to anyone on Wikipedia to do anything that big about it. I even think the premise section is blank on Wikipedia. So I
Yeah.
could have looked at the. It's a rare movie where you look at the Wikipedia page before the movie, and usually that spoils things for you. But in this case, I don't think it did.
Yeah, IMDb
Would
is
have.
sparse as well on the page. Got a 4.6, which is fair. I would have gone lower, but
What?
IMDb scores 4.6 out of 10.
I don't try.
I'm not.
On a sidebar about IMDb ratings. It's a fan thing. So,
All right, all right, all right. Now I got to look at the Rotten Tomatoes because you can at least get real critics on the Rotten Tomatoes.
does even have entries there because
Yeah, there's the other man, the other woman, so close. But no, I'm sure Roger Ebert would have torn this movie up to shreds, but unfortunately, I can't find that. But
right, it probably wasn't even on their radar to review it. It's my feeling. I mean, it's possible they reviewed it, but
yeah, it's not clear if he reviewed it or not. Probably didn't. But yeah, yeah. Anyway, that was a big sidebar just because of the.
well, just on the Wikipedia page, the IMDb page, I'm looking at the poster. Did you see the poster and what the tagline is?
No, I saw the butt on the poster.
So if you scroll, yeah, okay. It's a good butt to stare at for a while, but if your eyes go down the poster.
What the fuck? It's not that funny, but it definitely surprised me.
Well, it's pretty bad. It's pretty funny and
All right,
so bad it's good type of way. Look what the wife dragged in.
look at the. I mean, wow. And then the poster would make you think it dragged in a sexy woman's rear end, but it dragged in Stanley Tucci.
Well, to be fair, the title is "Sex and the Other Man."
That's the other thing. So I find it very boring in my movie reviews when I discuss how much I don't like movie titles and stuff. But what a clumsy movie title! I mean, it's very literal to the plot, but it's like, yep, there's sex and there's another man. Check box.
Yeah, I, I can give if it'd be awesome to. He's still alive. Chris Weitz, the playwright. If I could have a conversation of why he wrote this play and what about it was what why he thought the premise was interesting or something.
See, like the premise itself on
What
like
was he trying? What was he trying to say with a man getting dragged in? It almost a homoerotic thing or something that because it does more for more for Bill's sexuality than Jessica's to have a guy watch. So is Bill like bisexual or something? Am I?
there is some subtext in the movie because he's bullying Stanley Tucci incessantly. It definitely felt a little homoerotic with the whole like dangling chow mein in his face and stuff. Like, I mean, it could have gone there pretty easily, but never really did.
Eh, you thought that was homoerotic? I thought that was more like classic bullying type thing. Like
Well, I mean, there's a lot of
Tucci,
more things that are big are better to talk about than the movie, but there's a lot of thought that bullying goes into repressed homosexuality,
yeah, that's true.
attacking the things that cause your insecurities, which is attraction to other men. So I mean, that's not in the movie. It'd be a better movie if it was. So I think we basically wrapped up the plot, but let's get into it. So, well, Bill's getting the apple pie. I don't like apple pie, by the way, but that's just me. But
So overrated. Why is that the American food? Throw in the trash.
you got cherry pie, you got pumpkin pie.
Well, I love apples, but you make them warm and stuff. It's just not as good as raw apples.
I agree. I like a regular apple fine. So, well, the movie kind of just flows loosely to an end because Stanley Tucci becomes super confident that he's in love for Carrie Warrer for some reason, and he wants to escape with her. And talk about, I mean, I know gotta keep defending it. It's a play, but Carrie Warrer lets him go off the handcuffs and tells him to leave.
Yeah.
There's no like clever like turn of action or like something set up earlier. She just lets him go, and wait. So they explain this in the movie, right? Because in the apartment, it's a fake gun that causes Stanley Tucci to faint. But then Bill has a real gun in the motel.
Yes, it brings a horror element to it. It's drawn out. Bill goes to a store. This is before the pie. Wait, this whole gun thing is before the pie. He goes to get supplies or something, or and leaves the two of them alone. And he comes back and he takes out the gun, and they establish that was blanks before, and then they show him putting live rounds in, and then they cut to Jessica and Arthur's faces, and they're horrified that they're actually bullets, so he could actually die this time and stuff. But I guess does I mean, to be fair, I didn't, probably because I didn't care because it was not interesting. I didn't know. I couldn't predict what would happen per se in terms of who would end up with who. I guess. I guess I didn't think about that because I feel like they could have written the play or the screenplay better to kind of jazz up that part of it where she has strong feelings for potentially either one of them.
That's what I was gonna say. Is the ending the part that ruined the ending for me? Is that Stanley Tucci's saying he loves Carrie Werner, which doesn't make a
Yeah.
lot of sense because they didn't really have like romantic dialogue with each other. It's mostly just there with Bill, and so when at the end when Stanley Tucci's like, "Oh, you got to come with me and we'll leave," and she's like, "No," I was kind of like, "Yeah, that makes sense." Like in real life, I'd much rather have Stanley Tucci than the guy from Deep Impact, but it just didn't seem like they really motivated their romance very well. Was that intention? Was that some kind of intentional commentary?
No, the only sign of attraction that they have is that they are about to have sex before Bill catches them in the beginning of the movie.
Which in hindsight seems like a elaborate lie to get Stanley Tucci there for their.
Yeah, like I said, I when I'm watching it, I'm like, it's a little suspenseful. I mean, I use the term suspenseful loosely because it's not. You have to care about a movie to feel suspense. That's not a word, but whatever. But by a movie like a Hitchcock movie, you're actually worried about whatever Cary Grant getting shot or something.
I mean, to be fair,
You-
I had a vague, unmotivated sense of dread slash suspense because it's like, well, you're committing a crime by holding Stanley Tucci there. Why not just let him go and not let him die?
no,
That'd
I
be,
mean,
but yeah,
what I meant was suspense for them getting caught making love, but that was the plan all along.
right. Yeah, in a better movie, that turn would have built into something bigger. Either Stanley Tucci wanting to escape, or
That
some,
was
or some tension between the couple, or something. There would have been more meat to the bone in terms of plot. But yeah, yeah, yeah.
the dialogue makes it confusing because then there were several lines. Maybe it was lies to confuse Tucci, but Bill says, "What is it about him? You want to sleep with him? His job, his, but like he lists all these reasons, and then she goes, "It was just sex." Like it's like some bold statement about life or something. But then
Yeah.
that kind of blows in the face of the kidnapping part of it. But maybe they didn't establish this in the screenwriting. Maybe it was. to bewilder Tucci, make him more confused, and make him a more stressed out hostage or whatever. But it's hard to the characters of Bill and Jessica that level of credit for their intelligence to do that on purpose.
Yeah. So we already discussed the ending basically. So Tucci uh, shoots Bill
Yeah.
and leaves reluctantly because she won't go with him. So the thing with the boat, which was I don't think that was really dumb because it seemed earnest in the way they said it, but it felt weird. Is because Bill and later Carrie War emphasizes this is that you gave me $75,000. I'll cash it and then we'll let you go, and I promise I'll pay you back. It just seemed weird. Like that made no sense. Like you extort money from a guy and then I don't know. It seemed inherently dishonest. But yeah.
Well, it don't really. Who knows if he was telling the truth or not about wanting to pay it back? And he even says with compounded interest. Uh, yeah, I don't know why they included that because
It seemed like more like a funny line. I feel like better plays in this play too, like try to emphasize lines by saying, "Oh, compounded interest is like a joke," because people say compounded interest in real life. Eh, I don't know.
you're a comedian. If you told a joke on stage, I'd boo you, trying to get a laugh for compounded interest.
Yeah, but I mean, you could maybe strained, but a mapping joke about like buying cocaine and no, I'll take some cocaine with interest. No, no, I don't know.
But yeah, I don't know why they did the loan part, but I feel like we're discussing the motivation of the characters, and there's no evidence in the movie, but I I feel like because Bill does decide to rip up the check instead of going to the bank.
Well, that's right. So the money's just totally not taken. Okay.
That's why if you write a check and never and the recipient never uh, processes it, it's your money.
Right. So yeah, I guess. Well, that makes sense. It's not like a fruitful ending or anything, but like Bill's fully cutting ties with Stanley Tucci. It's not there's no relationship there anymore. But who cares?
Yeah, really bad. But I'm kind of thinking so maybe that's why part of why Jessica stayed with Bill is because he also came to the decision to let him go and leave him unharmed and not even take his money.
Yeah. The weird thing about that part is that it does not resolve at all Bill's lazy unemployment, which is just sort of taking it face value at that point. Like it's fine.
There's no fun. I don't think there's any signs of like financial distress.
Well, it's not financial distress, but in the beginning of the movie, Carrie Werner says, I have a job, I pay for this apartment, you don't have a job, ugh. But they only say in that scene, so it's not, there's no like financial pressure, which I guess it's not exactly realistic, but it has a certain verite quality to it, as opposed to making a big plot point like, you know, I gotta make money in turn for rent, and then the end of the movie, he gets
Yeah.
a big job and saves the day or whatever. I don't know. Yeah.
I might have. I imagine that was an attempt to emasculate him more. That type of dialogue, because
Yeah.
like the opening scene we talked about is about how he can't be romantic with his wife, or I'm just gonna say they're married. I can't remember if they are or not.
So if you read it on that level, first he's emasculated, then he's having sex, then he trusts his wife to be alone with another man, then he is fully repatriated by giving up the money. It's almost an arc.
Yeah. And she is pregnant, or it's heavily implied she's pregnant.
Oh, I didn't catch that.
Well, because that was the other, while he got Chinese food, he got back first. She was getting an ovulation kit. I'm not sure if that's the right term from the pharmacy.
Oh, yeah, it was the test for her. Yeah, yeah. So you're yeah, whatever. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Well, that brings up another plot point that was stupid that we didn't discuss. When she gets back to the apartment, because there are, well, we keep talking about Bill, Jessica, and Arthur. There were other characters in the movie. Bill, Bill, not Bill, Arthur, Stanley Tucci, in the office, before he flirts heavily and gets the date that turns into sex with Jessica Curry, where he he water cooler talks with two friends of his. It's like, she's looking good. Uh, you should go talk to her, and you should go talk to her. Blah blah blah. So, anyways, so that happens in the office, and that's the last to see of the characters until Curry Weaver is about to enter back into the front door of the complex,
Hmm.
and then one of Stanley Tucci's friends runs up and says, from the work scene, says, "Hey, where's Arthur? I haven't heard from him." And then she goes, "He went home." And he's like,
Wow.
"Are you sure?" And then
Yeah.
and she's like, "Yeah." And so he just wanders off because apparently they made a deal that they explain it that Tucci would call this friend and say, "Hey," they had a deal that he'd call him at some point and say, "Hey, I scored it with that girl from the office. It went well." And if he didn't hear from him, he would check in on him.
Yeah, that doesn't make
But
any sense, especially because with a setup like that, you think it would pay off perfectly for the motel somehow.
nope, he's an awful friend who says he went home. He doesn't
Doesn't
do
check
any
it out.
research into drive to his house and knock on the door to see if he's there, or call someone to see if they've seen it or anything. He just disappears. That's the last you see of him.
Yeah, that's the weird thing because talking about this is a play, but even like I was talking about other play movies, a Tennessee Williams adaptation or whatever, they could show Stanley Tucci's wife. That just seemed like that just seemed like such an obvious thing to cut to at some point.
Well, there really is no wife because they've been separated for so long.
But still, it's a character that's mentioned. But so something that's sort of nagging about this movie. I'm curious your thoughts. You probably don't mind it as much. So Stanley Tucci plays this obviously the other man. He's
Hmm.
in the relationship, and he's a hostage, so sympathetic. But as the movie goes on, it becomes more of a needling, whining character, and I felt like it was kind of distracting because I felt like Stanley Tucci was a better actor than the other two, and that my part of my brain was rooting for him to succeed in spite of anything he did. Did you have anything along those lines?
I mean, no, I don't root for characters based on how much I respect them as actors. I mean, it's hard not to. I mean, I think it's practically impossible to not Stanley Tucci's the best actor among three of them. Ron Eldard or whatever his name is hasn't been in a lot, and as we've explained before, Carrie is the queen of B movies. I mean, there's probably if we really want to get into it, there's probably someone else who deserves that title more than her, but she didn't really elevate into anything that major, and never really acted well anything. No, again, I even though he's an adulterer and I don't know, like you, I'm a liberal on gender relations, and he kind of forced himself on a woman at work. Um, most sympathetic. I do end up most sympathetic to him. I don't know. I'm not sympathetic to any kidnappers.
Yeah, I feel like that's the thing is like I have this issue with like when really bad criminals go to like prison for life or something. It's like sure I feel bad about the one thing, but the aspect of being held hostage is so gross and uncomfortable. I wouldn't want anyone to go through that, regardless of what their perceived deserving it was on cinema. It's a very hard thing to overcome.
I do think the tying up and the handcuffs, which are again two well-known kinks in the kink world, and the even close up, not the handcuffs, but they close up hard on the rope on the when and they show in detail him tying a knot on his legs and his hand. I think that probably is what led to the arousal from Bill, is he had control over
Yeah, and like
Arthur.
yeah, there was a whole thing where I don't know, maybe I'm misremembering when he was at the office. He saw that Tucci had like a small dick or something, or he looked at it or something.
Did he look at? They're definitely in the bathroom.
But regardless, yeah, it's this whole power dynamic where the unemployed guy controls the wealthy middle management executive. That was kind of weird too. That it could have made Stanley Tucci a bigger deal in the company, but whatever. I guess that's some kind of character thing.
Yeah, even the way they dressed, they kind of set up what you're talking about. Tucci's dressed in a suit, and this is before Tucci decided to shave his all of his hair off. He has that. Is there a term for that? Where the top of your head is bald, but you have hair around the top of your bald head. You know what I'm talking?
I mean, I know visually what it is. I don't know exact terminology.
I guess you call it balding instead of bald.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah.
I just so and every time and Bill's wear the entire movie is white shirt and denim, and I think work boots even. Just kind of
Yeah, and Carrie wears similar. It's sort of feminine, but it's still dressy pants, a lot of loose shirts.
well, she wears a blouse and a uh like a long skirt in the office, I think.
Yeah, but she dresses down a little more in the
Oh, she does dress down a lot more. She wears like flannel in the apartment, I believe.
just classic workman's clothes. We're doing it. We're doing some kind of textual analysis on this movie, despite itself.
I know we're forcing literary themes from this stupid movie
Yeah,
of bourgeoisie versus the proletariat or something.
yeah. And I was rooting for the movie trying to be hard. I mostly wanted this movie to end. It seemed like once they left the apartment and started driving, I'm like, oh, they're gonna get caught. And I was relieved because I'm like, oh, the movie's just gonna end, and it didn't really. But it was at least closer to the end, I guess. All right, so probably start thinking of some for later episodes more summative ending things. But how would what would you give this movie on a scale of 1 to 10? And would you recommend it to anyone?
Only it has some so bad it's good appeal.
Yeah.
That's kind of forced. Because actually, I went to a meetup one time to we all were watching it for the first time, but we watched My Name is Bruce.
Well, I haven't
We
seen it yet, which is shocking because I like Bruce Campbell probably more than you do, or at least read his books more than you. Yeah. Yeah.
It was a meetup where we watched that on projector, and we were encouraged to riff on it during the movie.
Hey, it's Bruce Campbell. What the fuck?
Well, there's lots of stupid things that we riff on. No spoiler alerts. You probably watch that at some point, but
I haven't seen that or Man with Two Screaming Brains. I mean, that just seems like Bruce Campbell requirement. But
anyways, so there's some appeal to maybe try to do something like that with a group of friends where you put it on and it's fair game to make jokes while you're watching it or something.
yeah,
But I think overall probably shouldn't even do that because it's too dumb and boring.
yeah,
You could do much better in the sex drama
yep.
or sex or drama.
Not enough sex, not enough drama. I agree.
Probably better off watching porn. Uh, uh, any,
Yeah, we need a more
I only
clever.
chuckle at things like because we watch wrestling videos and stuff.
Yeah,
When the first time she says it's okay, Billy, and my first thought was these t-shirts are too tight, Billy. Uh,
yeah. That video was way better than this movie.
I don't know, two,
All right. So
one and a half. There's no reason not to give it a one, but I don't know.
I'll give it a God. I mean, because there's no reason to recommend this movie. Like you say, in theory, it's bad, so it could be so bad it's good, but it's just so static, and the dialogue is so monotonous, and it's just so like the plot holes and the lack of like dramatic payoff and like conviction in the movie's own premise, just meandering bullshit. And
Yeah,
I would only really recommend it for like literally like the movie torturing someone who's tied up in a chair because I mean that would work very well. But I would give it point 0.5 out of 10 because I just have no positive merits about this movie aside from
yeah.
Carrie Warner's breasts and buttocks. But that's about it.
Before we wrap up, I kind of want to define what I think qualifies so bad it's good.
Yeah,
Like My Name is Bruce. I don't know, and The Room.
yeah, that's a good one.
I never saw it, and we saw the YouTube recap video version of Samurai Cop, but I think it kind of applies for that type of movie too. There's like a energy to those so bad it's good movies.
I agree.
This
It's
movie's
a propulsion, which, to be fair, plays historically not always the most exciting thing. But at the same time, I like plays, good plays. So that doesn't hold any water for me.
it's just Manos Hands of Fate or
Not very good.
whatever. Those type of movies, the writers and the directors tried.
Right.
They swung and they missed. They missed hard, but at least they swung.
It's almost too artsy, despite not being very artistically fulfilling to be so bad it's good. It's like not even Oscar bait, but like
It's too derivative of better dramas.
yeah. I think drama. I think pure drama is a hard thing for camp. Like I'm sure it exists, but genre like sci-fi or horror or Tommy Wiseau is really good for unintentional camp. But this is too, despite it's not wacky enough.
yeah, because you brought up Tommy Wiseau, and The Room is attempting plot-wise to be a standard drama, but he overacts so hard and
Yeah.
weirdly that entertainment can be drawn from that. But with
If Chris Weitz couldn't speak English very well, this movie would have been so much better. But Alas, no.
All three of the actors, because forget the coworkers who were barely in it, they're trying to play it coolly and dramatically, and they fail miserably.
Yeah.
They're not given a good script to work with or good direction to work with either, but
Yep.
just there's no entertainment value. I'm probably with you on the point five, and I think about it.
Because yeah, I mean,
How did you choose it? But can I ask you, how did you find this movie? Why did you watch it?
so Tubi just tells me what movies to watch, and I keep liking everything I watch. So I watched enough Trauma and 80s and National Lampoon and bullshit. So it's probably some nexus of middle of the road boob movies, and somehow this qualified.
Interesting.
Yep, Tubi is a wonderland of mediocrity, basically.
Yeah.